When did he do it? I want. Look, I don't know when he did it, but he did some clap thing. And I don't like that either. Hello. Another opinion piece. I'll be right back. I'm back. Okay, so I'm watching this video by Joe Scott, and the video got 300,000 views talking about how the recycling symbol, the one that we all know about those three triangles and everything, is not a recycling symbol. And how the majority of stuff that is recycled is just like not actually recyclable if it's not something that is a 1 or a 2. So for example, this bottle is, take my word for it, or here it is. If I can, there's a 1 there. So I would say the fact that standard, regular use and recycled stuff, such as these big bottles of pop or juice, is good enough, and then we know how to do something with that, and we can turn that into something that is actually usable again. Now, of course, there are 7 different, how many symbols? Yeah, there are 5 different, he said there are 5 different symbols that represent plastics that we cannot use or recycle. Although he makes an addendum saying like literally everything other than everything other than 1 and 2 can be readily, easily recycled. Physics Girl made a video talking about there was this new kind of bacteria or some kind of algae or something. I don't know what it was. There was some kind of organism that they found that is now able to digest plastics, which is like you put that into the landfill and it turns it all into stuff that we can either like not worry about as much or we can handle better. So that's the other thing. His video, as you can see, it's 30 minutes long. He includes a part where there was African American, or no, it was Native American, and the actor who played the Native American wasn't even Native American, and he did this clap thing in it, and I'm going to tell you right now, I didn't appreciate that. Like, my senses are bothered enough by the fact of the idea. But listen, I don't care who plays the Native American, if it's a real one or a fake one, if their idea and their message and their opinion is something that the Native Americans would have said or is a good message. Who cares who the fuck says it? I don't. So he brought racism into it. Which I don't think should be a part of the recycling video. Let me tell you 2 things that you need for a recycling video. 1, how much of the stuff are we able to not deal with and its purpose, and ideas. The 2 is the ideas for what to do with replacing it. And I've heard 20 minutes of this guy talking about a bunch of stuff that's like if you burn it, you're not getting as much energy back as you put in to make it. Let me tell you something. If I'm not able to get my pop in a plastic bottle, the other alternative is metal, fucked up cardboard, which you don't want. You seriously don't want liquid cardboard because liquid holding cardboard because that does not work well. Juice boxes are not liquid holding cardboard. They are the worst thing. If you're going to be bothered about anything, be bothered about the specific products that incorporate stuff such as, am I actually bothered by my own goddamn mainstream product of these? You know what these are? These are 3 specific types of easily separatable things. Do you know what a pop can is? A pop can is metal with plastic in it. They have to dissolve the metal, and then they have to do something else to the plastic. You dissolve the metal. Anyway, yeah, and the plastic remains. Yeah, that's the weird thing. The plastic remains. That is insane. So if you want to bring my bottles of pop in glass, for example, you have to make either one, a type of glass that doesn't easily shatter because distributing that shit, it also is heavier. So you either want to make it lighter, which makes it easy to break, or you want to make it so it's all like, what? Bulletproof glass for the sake of freaking bottles of pop, and then you're going to recycle the bulletproof glass. Look, I'm all for recycling and reusing. The fact that I eat bacon and it comes in this plastic that I can just throw away, and then they turn it into whatever else, and then they reuse those parts, which is now clean, to be able to be used for something else is kind of good. But I think like grenadine what the fuck is grenadine? Grenadine is like no, it's not that. It's like a syrup, right? And I used to have bottles of grenadine. I think I threw them all away. And now grenadine comes in plastic because the glass bottles broke and people didn't want it, so they want plastic. So you either have the alternative of using metals which can eke into your food. Plastic doesn't do that unless it's heated. Don't heat your plastics, right? So we have, you guys think of what is the alternatives? What are the things that can make what you want to be sent where you want it to be sent without it being contaminated? Contamination is a huge problem. When it comes to all sorts of things, you want to make sure that it's safe to eat. That's why we at least have cans for food. But we also have probably some coating on the can so that the metal doesn't eke into the food and it only lasts so long and whatever else. We have a basic plastic wrap around the ice cream cones, for example. Have a thing of ice cream cones are not just ice cream cones just in this box. Guaranteed, they're covered in some plastic. And you know what that does? It keeps it from the atmosphere. It keeps it from the bugs. It keeps it from, you know, smashing together. It keeps it from being wasted and stale and whatever. And of course, you can't reuse that plastic, but we have Ziploc bags, which are great for reusability. I personally And I'm constantly using the Tupperware, which I call Tupperware because it's Tupperware. Fuck off. These are just ice cream containers. So when I get ice cream, I use the ice cream containers as Tupperware, and I throw them out when I want to deal with the compost. Because one, it holds the compost really well, and it's something I could use to throw out that stuff. And then later on, you can separate the plastic from the compost, and then you can recycle the plastic. Deal with the compost issue, or I'm going to keep doing this, sir. Also, industrial plastics are meant to last. You also have stuff like glue or lubricant or oils or like certain polymers that are used for whatever thing or whatever thing. And you have to know, like, the stuff that's in your fridge, for example, the handles on your stove, right? You don't want that to just disintegrate on its own. You want that to last a while. And sure, you have to do a certain process in order to recycle these pieces of something. But I mean, it's better than having to grab onto a piece of hot metal, which I refuse to do. Until you can replace that with something else, I'm not going to say get rid of all plastics in the world or make it better because you have to make it better. There is no way to make it better. There is no way to make it super much better. Like the idea of, okay, we're just going against recycling as being not super energy efficient or whatever else. I would say, one, you're using the material to get a giant conglomerate of products around that you otherwise couldn't move around as easily, and then at the end of it, you're able to get power out of that. I don't know about you, but I find that to be good. And if you're making plastics out of freaking biomaterials, right? If you use corn, right, what does corn normally do? It just feeds people. Or maybe it turns into corn syrup, which then feeds people, or is used to make glues or whatever else. And if you make plastic, you have the ability to increase all of the numbers of different products that you can send as well. I mean, okay, there is, of course, water grade cardboard. That's what this is. But again, the thing is on top of it plastic, and we gotta find a way to make it so that the top part can also be, but it has to be sturdy because you have to keep opening it and closing it enough that it actually seals tight, and you can't do that with paper. So you have to do something, and it's some kind of a weird thing that's like you could just burn that, don't worry about it, and then you could just separate the plastic parts out of it in the recycling center. And so that becomes a means to an end, which is then environmentally mostly sound, and then also like it's a good idea as well. And to replace that, again, you have to use what? Seriously, what do you use to replace all of that? I don't know. I don't know. Like, again, like I said, we got the cardboard, which has something else on it, but also each one of these individual packages of pizza pockets, each one of those are protected from the environment. They're protected from bugs. They're protected from freezer burn. They're protected from, you know. And so does using these kinds of this kind of plastic become a health hazard? And should you use it in some other way, or is it perfectly fine? And that's something that's important to talk about that I don't think he talked about. Does having these plastic covered foods make you have health issues? And, or most importantly, of all of his video, I have yet to hear alternatives. I have yet to hear solutions. So, here we are, and we're going to skip back to where I was, which I think was 21 minutes, or whatever.
A lot less energy out of it than you put into it. Energy and money, for that matter. So, yeah, it's still not economically feasible, just like mechanical recycling.
I don't even know if he talks about this is 5 days ago, by the way. Please understand, this video was 5 days ago. And it's an opinion piece that I feel like respectfully, it should fit in the timeline of maybe 2010. But it's happening 5 days ago. And my comment was, we have cardboard freaking straws now. Clearly something has been done about plastics already, and you're making this video. What point does this video serve now, is my question.
Report by the consulting firm Arthur D. Little Inc. in 1973 pointed out another similarity to mechanical recycling in that the process requires very pure plastic stock in order to produce a usable oil byproduct. So again, you still have to separate all the different resins out, which makes it cost prohibitive. Now you might be tempted to say, hey, that was 50 years ago. Technology's come a long way since then.
Yes, it has. Yes, it has. In the last 5 years or so, it has come a long way, and you have ignored all of that to make this video.
But they've been working on that this whole time, and even as technology's progressed, it's just still never made sense. In 2003, a longtime industry consultant named Alan Gritt.
I don't want to hear about 2003 stuff. When it regards to all of this, the current issue is the current issue, 2023. You are 20 years in the past? Excuse me, get off.
Laid into the idea of plastic-to-plastic chemical recycling, calling it, quote, another example of how non-science got into the minds of the industry and environmental activists alike. His report described chemical...
Non-science got into the minds of industry. Like, the way he says it feels like it's without... It feels like he's trying to push out the ideas without actually putting emphasis to the cores of the ideas.
Recycling is inherently, quote, thermodynamically environegative. And here's the part that cracks me up. He also said, quote, didn't anyone know this already?
Can't you get a picture of this guy instead of a stock footage? That's not the person he's talking about. You could get a stock footage.
It's disgraceful either way. Either people knew it was an energy loser and didn't want to let it be known, or else they didn't bother.
Look, I don't care about being an energy loser. It serves its purpose, and it is then turned into just pure energy for us, which, if you're not going to have it be something that is like reusable, if you can make it again anyway, then just burning it like we do with wood. Oh wow, such comparison. That plastics could be as useful as wood. They serve their purpose and eventually you burn them if, termites and whatnot.
To figure it out at all. That is a lot of shade for a boring industry report.
I would say that plastics are on par with wood, and that is that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
But the thing is, they did know that it wasn't viable. In fact, in 1994, the vice president of Chevron Chemical, Erwin Leibowitz, he was meeting with the American Plastics Council and told them that chemical recycling is, quote, a fundamentally uneconomical process. It has all this...
Yeah, in other words, you're just putting more money into it. No matter what, it's not going to earn you enough money. Like economical or ergonomical, whichever one. Which one is, what did he say? I didn't want to minimize the video.
Was meeting with the American Plastics Council and told them that chemical recycling is, quote, a fundamentally uneconomical process.
Uneconomical is just about how the money works for the plastics, and I don't actually care how much money you have to put in to make the products go where they need to go. I care about the effects of the products, which is very important, and I care about, like, is it like you have to pay money to get a product, right? And if you're not paying money to get a product, then who cares about how uneconomical it is? I had a brain fart right then when I said it, so don't take what I just said. I don't care.
It has all the same problems as mechanical recycling, but they kept pushing it as a solution, not because they genuinely wanted it to
You can't recycle wood.
work, but as a smokescreen.
You can't recycle wood.
They always have. In 2020, a group called the Global Alliance for Incinerator Alternatives looked into these chemical recycling efforts, and they found that there have been 37 chemical recycling.
I'd like to hear him say about biorecycling, but we're 24 minutes into the video. There's only 6 minutes left. Will he say it? I don't know.
Facilities proposed or built since the early 2000s. Of those 37, only 3 were operational, and none were successfully producing new plastic. Not one.
I don't know how to explain this to you, but there's such a thing as I turn it into midway product. The midway product goes to another facility where they then turn it into the actual plastics. Don't ever put a statistics up here like this. I don't want to hear it. You're literally misrepresenting information. Shut up.
37 chemical recycling facilities proposed or built since the early 2000s. Of those 37, only 3 were operational, and none were successfully producing new plastic.
You can propose to make 1 billion recycling plants. I don't need that freaking imagination number. Of the 3 that were built, none of them are actually making new plastics. Are they making the parts necessary to make plastics elsewhere? Or industrial processing plastics, which are being useful elsewhere? In your planes, in your cars, in your trains. You want a solution for that? I would love to hear one from you. The first number, literally, look. Proposed. The word proposed simply means planned in advance to do the thing. We planned to do it. It's a number in our head. I don't care. Proposed or built. No, tell me the ones that were built. 3 of them were built and operational. How many of them that were built were operational? How can you not have both be the case? Did you build any that were not operational? I would love to find that number out, but they were proposed. Are we working off of only free recycling plants? That is amazing, to be honest.
Not one. An even more recent report last year from the groups Beyond Plastics and IPEN found that only 11 chemical recycling facilities have been built in the U.S., and only 4 of those were operational. But even if they were all fully operational, their combined capacity... Okay,
this is the number that I wanted. The ones actually built, 11. The ones actually being used, 4. Why? I don't know what the other 7 recycling plants are doing, why they're not in use, but I could hazard a guess that they might be used to do the other components of the recycling. These other 7 recycling plants possibly could be handling the specific types of plastics that are not naturally commonly recycled. You know, everything that's not 1 and 2. So 3 to 7, these are held in these other more sophisticated and specialized plants. Are you going to talk about that?
3% of the plastic waste produced in the U.S. each year. There's a part of me that wants to show a little grace here.
There cannot be only 4 recycling plants in the entire United States? That doesn't seem right. There's recycling centers in every... What the fuck where are you getting these numbers? There has to be recycling plants like literally all over the place. Or maybe you only need 4 to do the actual processing. All the collection agencies are completely separate, and we're not going to talk about those. They're useless. They're just a bunch of trucks moving stuff and warehouses. They don't actually do anything, clearly.
And some of you may be thinking the same thing, that these things take time, that you got to start somewhere, and that we should support these efforts. Fair enough. And the industry has set some very bold targets in the coming years. ExxonMobil, Dow, and Chevron Phillips Chemical have each announced that they plan to process at least 1 billion pounds of plastic waste through chemical recycling, with ExxonMobil saying they'll do it by 2026. Dow has promised, quote, a series of planned facilities that would process 1 billion pounds a year by 2030. Shell claims to be building a pyrolysis oil upgrader facility with the ambition to process over 2 billion pounds by 2025. That's next year. And look.
Yeah? Well, if the technology to be able to do the recycling on a mass scale is only available to be put into, like, we gotta do research to figure out how to do this stuff, and we have to then implement it. And it takes time and money and whatever else to set it up and then use it. So, early as next year. That's also good news. We don't want it to be 10 years from now.
I want this to be true.
Like nuclear.
Of course I want this to be true. I want to believe that there's this banger new technology that's going to solve this problem, that they're serious about solving it. That's why these PR campaigns work so well. We want this to be true.
You're calling this a problem. I'm calling it that plastics and recycling is a... If not anything, like, what else are you going to do? It's a necessary evil. Also, I think he talked about... Was it this guy or was it someone else who talked about using stuff to make zeppelins? And they used a lot of something to make... They use a lot of guts to make zeppelins. It was like pig guts or something. What?
But as I've shown in this video, they have a history of making bold claims in public while admitting in private that it won't work. And it's just really hard to believe that this is anything more than the same smokescreen they've been running since the 1950s. One person who agrees with my skepticism is a guy...
You need to find ways to actually do the thing that you want to do, and then go find those people who are actually doing the thing that you want to do, and realize they're a small goddamn company that actually exists somewhere that you're not looking into or talking about. 20 minutes of your video has been wasted on facts that are irrelevant instead of just say, hey, these guys are doing the thing that you want them to do? Go back them.
And Louis Freeman. Louis Freeman was the vice president at the Society of the Plastics Industry from 1978.
I'm not any better. Shut up.
To 2001. So you could call him the ultimate plastics industry insider. And in a recent interview, he talked about how the industry has always seen this as a public perception problem and not a technical or economic one, saying, quote, in 30 some odd years, there have been some slight improvements in the amount of plastics recycling, but for all the effort and money they spent, they haven't moved the needle hardly at all. If they use the same measure of success and failure that they do in running
do it.
the rest of their business,
Recycle.
out of business. So a lot of this video came from a report that came out literally just a few weeks ago from the Center for Climate Integrity. They did an excellent job. There's a lot more that came from. I'll put the link down below. Definitely go check it out if you have a minute. All this is, well, it's a lot. But what's the actual solution here? Well, the phrase is reduce, reuse, recycle. And those words are not in random order. We have
Duh.
to do the one thing the plastic industry doesn't want to do, and that's reduce the amount of single-use plastic. Look, plastic isn't going to completely go away. It makes our lives immeasurably better. And in a lot of ways,
Yeah. Doy.
it is still a wonder material. I mean, imagine what it was like going to the doctor before plastics. I don't think anybody wants that. But especially now that we buy most of our stuff online, we have to get a handle on the plastics in our packaging. It's gotten ridiculous. Like, does everything need to be wrapped in multiple layers of plastic?
Can you think of a better way? Are you going to mention a better way? I have nut in my throat and it's really annoying. Some peanut like fragments. It's like yeah. Not the most comfy thing. I need a drink.
Actually, hang on a second. Let me show you something.
I am streaming it. Okay.
I just got this boom pole recently.
That was literally a bunch of sounds, not actually anything actually happening. Quality.
Actually, we used it for the first time on a sketch at the beginning of this video. But when I got it, and it was in, the shipping box. Why am I saying that? Hang on. It was in the shipping box. I opened that up, and there was plastic padding on the inside that protected the actual box, which was, for some reason, inside a plastic bag. I opened up that box to find more plastic padding and another plastic bag covering this carrying case, which is made of some kind of plastic, which I opened up to find the boom pole wrapped in yet another plastic bag. Guys, it's a boom pole.
Yeah, okay, so some companies don't know how to make it so that... Look, if you want to make something... I don't know how to make a long rod like what you're holding to be able to be shipped without it breaking the box, making an opening, whatever else, and doing other things. Am I okay with all of that plastic wrap? Is it necessary? The standards are that bugs should not be able to find places to make a home. So let's reduce infestation by covering things in plastic. We might be a little exaggerated about it, but also you're not going to get bugs in your in any of the stuff you're having delivered. So yay for no bugs.
It's not made of milk. It's not King Tutankhamun. It doesn't need to be hermetically sealed. It's a friggin' boom pole. Like, seriously.
I mean, that's a good point. I would say a piece of wood would do a great job to make the boom pole be less of a pointy thing. But then you have biodegraded whatever stuff and whatever, I don't know.
Start paying attention when you open packages that you bought online and just how much unnecessary plastic is used in these things. It's ridiculous.
Is it unnecessary? Are you in the industry? Do you know how much the plastics and whatever else, if they're not there, what is the effect and all that stuff? You don't know because we don't do things that way anymore. And I've heard people talk about it being necessary. Food Fury literally said the amount of air in a chip bag changes the quality of the chips that you get. Because if there's not enough air, then there's going to be a bunch of crumbs. And if there's too much air, you're not getting your bang for your buck. So we got to talk about the amount of excess air we're shipping, because that's just a waste.
And remember, each one of these has a 95% chance of getting burned and releasing chemicals into the air and into our food supply.
Yeah, I'm really worried about my stuff catching on fire while it's in shipping. Really worried about that. There's no way no one has any regulations about shipping. Sarcasm abounds.
There is no such thing as disposable plastic. It doesn't just go away. Speaking of those chemicals that I was talking about that are getting into our food and whatnot, I talked earlier about the
If you totally incinerate it, it's gone. Doesn't it?
different resin types. I didn't really go into detail on it because it's
I mean, literally, if you're just going to make it out of reusable stuff, if you're going to totally incinerate it, it doesn't matter if it costs a certain amount of money to do both of those processes. It matters if it does the function, if it's healthy, safe, or whatever else. And then you could be making other types of plastics that, if burned, are not going to be as much of an issue. But at the same time, if you burn mostly anything, carcinogen is a word, and it applies to a lot of things, not just plastics or whatever. Applies to everything.
It's already getting really long, so I made a second video that's all about those resin codes, and I've uploaded it to Nebula. In it, I go through the 7 different resin codes, what they stand for.
If you were blinded by my face, try looking at the screen.
What those plastics are used for, and most importantly, in it, I go through the 7 different...
Oh wait! In the Nebula video, you actually go into the details of what you actually should have talked about in this video. Paid to get the actual information you wanted. In other words, I just wasted all of your time. I told you no details about organic plastic recycling and digestion, which is just fascinating as fuck. And if I could link you that video, I'd fucking do it. But I forgot how to find it. Check out Everything Physics Girl. I think she talks about it. Veritasium, Smarter Every Day, Science Asylum. Good people.
Resin codes, what they stand for, what types of plastics fit into those categories, what those plastics are used for, and most importantly, what kind of chemicals come out of those things when they're burned. This is something I do.
There's a lot of things I know you don't want to burn or have like chemical whatever reactions with. Because just even chemical reactions, forget about burning stuff. You can get stuff that like gives you like, but like, yeah, of course, plastics burning, not good. Which is why you wonder if there's any plastics in phones if they overheat, and with lithium batteries being prone to exploding. How many? That is dangerous.
Fairly often, it's called a Nebula Plus video when I have some extra content or info that maybe doesn't quite fit into the main video, but it's still interesting to know on its own. So if you're subscribed to Nebula, you get to see that extra content. I also have a couple of exclusive series on there, one on the mysteries of the human body and one on forgotten atrocities, which I'm still adding to. There should be another one on there next month, actually. And by the way, that's just what I'm doing. There are over 150 other amazing, thoughtful creators on Nebula doing the exact same thing, like Legal Eagle, Isaac Arthur, Window Productions, Real Engineering. You can see all their content there early and ad-free, and see exclusive content you can't see anywhere else. Many of them are also doing exclusive series just like I am. So like Real Life Lore has the Modern Conflict series, which is amazing, and Window Productions has the Logistics of series, where it looks into the logistics of all kinds of different things. Did I mention there's a lot of great stuff there? Nebula's a place fine for creators like me, where we can actually focus on the topics and stories that we care about without being beholden to some faceless algorithm. It's been growing like crazy, and there's some really big projects on the horizon. So come check it out. Now's the time. Sign up at my link below, and you'll get 40%.
The algorithm is just the fact that there's a lot of stuff out there, and you're gonna have things that you're interested in possibly be recommended to you. I'm sure Nebula has an algorithm, and if they don't, they're not trying to help you find what you're interested in, which is weird for a company. I'm done watching the video because it's done playing. No, it's not. There's another minute?
$50 a month. It's one of the best rating deals out there. Or if you want a really great deal, Nebula
What is this extra minute?
You pay it once, you get Nebula for free as long as you're breathing air. And then you'll have a reason to take care of yourself and live longer. Don't we all need that? Either way, it's a great service and a great deal. Head on over there and watch my video on chemicals and the resin.
$2.50 a month for Nebula something something.
Codes, as if you're not forgetting about this stuff already. Oh, if you are not familiar with my channel, this is the first time you've ever seen my face. Dude, thanks for watching.
Patreon.
I make videos on things that I find interesting. I like to think that I apply a layer of interestedness to everyone's daily life. So if that's something into, and you're...
I'm not paid to do this. I just fucking do it. I have a Patreon. There are no patrons. I don't care. I'm just gonna talk about what's important. The fact that there is freaking I have to tell him in his comment section and bitch slap him with some facts by simply mentioning them and not actually posing it as a bitch slap. But it will feel like one. Organisms that can digest plastic years ago. Oh, wait! For some reason, my 1 hour ago and 1 second ago comment is split by someone else's comment that was 4 days ago. That doesn't make any fucking sense, and I don't care. Yeah, humans ingesting a credit card's worth of plastic in a week? I mean, if you divide it into 7 parts, that is a lot of plastic per day. There's more than just plastic in a credit card. And also, how dense is that plastic? Are we talking about, like, let's just say it's the equivalent of the plastic that you find in the credit card. So the same amount of density and whatever else. That's a lot of plastic. We also eat a lot of bugs. Apparently. You don't notice it? What do we do about it? I don't know answers for that. I don't get any information from this that is useful. Focus on the one thing I learned from this, perhaps focus on products that are plastic 1 and plastic 2. Everything else is something you maybe want to avoid. Unless it's the colander you're using, in which case, keep it, because it's gonna last longer? I don't know. Did I get any information out of this that was useful? I don't think so. There were like a couple of things that were slightly interesting, and the fact of there were so many things that were bothering me about this. And it's like, come on, man, solutions. That's what I want. I want solutions. I don't. It's nice to make um. It's nice to make a video that talks about like the past 100 years of everything plastic, but I want to know about the past 10 years, not 2003. I don't give a shit about 2003. That's 20 years ago. 10 years is fine. That's the scope we're needing to maybe focus in, because products from 10 years ago might still exist. I don't care. Those bits of information, like there's so many things that's like, you disturb me, sir, especially when you did that fucking clapping thing. I hated that. I don't appreciate it. I don't like it. I don't know when the fuck you did it, but it's the worst thing you could have done, and makes me want to not subscribe to your channel if you're going to do something like slap in my face about something like, I don't fucking even know what it was he did it for.
To the native Indian when he was actually an Italian in cosplay the whole time is super cringe, and I'm just gonna step away from this rabbit hole now because
I don't care.
all that aside, the biggest problem with the Crying Indian commercial is that it implies that people can fix pollution by throwing away their trash the right way. When the fact is, even if that schlub in the car at the end of the commercial, and every schlub in the whole world for that matter, put their trash in a can, there would still be too much trash, much of it plastic, for the world to handle. The rallying cry from the environment.
Context: climate change. United Nations climate change refers to long-term shifts in temperatures and weather patterns. Okay, there's another thing. Okay, slightly interesting. One thing I will say. Okay, he talked about there was these freaking ocean.
With a number stamped on it. What do these numbers mean? Well, they stand for different types of big acronyms for even bigger words. And it's really for the recyclers and not the consumer. And the only ones that you really need to worry about as a consumer are these two, number one and number two. And the reason for that is because, well, they're the only ones that are recyclable. Like, at all. Yes, 5?
No, that's not the reason why you only need to worry about number 1 and 2. It's because number 1 and number 2 are regular use products and common use products. The 5 other ones, like and other. I love the fact that there is such thing as other, and what kind of spectrum of garbage is that? Well, it's the kind of spectrum of garbage that you literally just burn.
Of the 7 of these
Probably.
symbols are completely not recyclable. Now, the good news is a lot of the single-use plastics
and
these first 2 categories. So a lot of it actually.
One tiny bit of credit for him, he does make a disclaimer. Yeah, they're recyclable. They're just not recycled as often. Thing. But, like, is it affordable? Whatever else, something, I don't know. There was something about, the one thing that was interesting of this whole video, he talks about that there are trash piles. Look at this fucking shit. Is that recent?
5 garbage patches. The best one is obviously the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, but the North Atlantic, South Atlantic, Indian Ocean, and Southern Pacific all have country-sized gyres of plastic trash that wreak havoc on ocean.
Apparently, the Bermuda Triangle is nothing but a bunch of plastic that you're going to run into. And that I found interesting. And of course, like, you find it all over the place. You find it in the Marianas Trench. Of course, you're going to find plastics in the trench. Stuff flows in all sorts of places, and it's going to end up in the deep place as well as the shallow place. There is no reason to expect anything else. Of course, you would fucking find it there. Stuff sinks down. It gets pushed around. The only place for it to end up is there. Do we put are we trying to put it there? No. How did it get there? Some people were lazy and didn't clean up the beach.
Ecosystems. Plastic waste is so ubiquitous that it's literally on the summit of Mount Everest, and it's been found in the Marianas Trench.
The fact that it's on Mount Everest means people are being lazy and insulting Mount Everest. And yes, sad. The trench. Who cares? Again, it's a tiny, insignificant portion of everything. The stuff is not just, like, the fact that it has made big chunks of stuff. Eventually, if you have all that stuff in giant chunks, I would rather have it in giant chunks so that it's, like, all in one place instead of everywhere. Because if it's all in one place, then people can avoid it. And then stuff that can possibly learn to eat it can start eating it, and maybe that's a good thing eventually, and it turns back into stuff that we can then have back in our ecosystem, which I'm not saying is a thing. I'm just saying, what if? And That would be neat. And it's not impossible because I said there are some kinds of organisms that do eat plastics, bacteria or whatever else. Who cares what they are? They're tiny little things and they eat plastics. So, good. Do we need to be feeding these tiny little things? Do they need to exist? Whatever, blah, 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 other solutions, whatever else. I just, majoritively, the end of this video, I'm just saying, what he said is a lot of stuff that's a lot of the problem, a lot of the issues, and we're talking about just all sorts of stuff spanning all of time, and stuff that may or may not have already been solved, stuff that, like, freaking, the fact that we have plastic straws turned into cardboard straws, he doesn't talk about! That's a huge thing. We are now having metal and freaking cardboard straws. And you know what I want? These motherfuckers. These are my reusable. You can reuse these for a certain amount of time. Plastic straws. They are big. They are better than the small ones. And bendy straws are freaking cool. And twisted straws are stupid. And literally cardboard straws are actually ridiculous and just dumb. I want to say a different R word for how dumb they are. Don't read too much into that. Recyclingness is less cool. Look, cardboard straws are not the best idea. Straws that we can use, if they told us that we could have a kind of straw that would be able to be reusable and not have to have everyone dispense straws every time we go to the goddamn McDonald's or Tim Hortons or anywhere. Use your own fucking straw, right? That would make a gigantic impact in the straw situation, and then we wouldn't have to have cardboard fucking straws. But cardboard straws suck ass right now. They're not useful for any amount of time beyond the use of the one drink. And if you try to have them be useful past that one drink, or for a long amount of time, like if you're hoping to be able to suck normally from that straw, it's just not the best straw. It sucks in a bad way. It's not very good, right? And then you got these other things. If I can get all this other stuff out of the way. Look at this shit. Right? I haven't used this. It's got a lovely top that could be more, and you can have it for the straw, and you can have the straw and whatever, and do the thing and have your straw and do that, and it's reusable and stuff. And I do have a straw cleaner, which is nice, which only came from the metal straws, but I have it and I use it for the plastic straws because of course I do. And to me, the metal straws are not the ones that I have. These fucking things, you don't suck on the metal part. They have a whatever. What is this kind of plastic? It's dildo plastic. I'm not joking. It's dildo plastic. Why do I know what dildo plastic is? Probably because I have a fucking dildo. But also, it looks the exact same kind of plastic. I'm not even joking. It's the same material. You're sucking on the same stuff that, if another shape, it would have been in someone's mouth, or butt, or pussy. So, that's not gonna bring a bunch of problems. Does he bring up that? Metal straws are a thing? That's an entire thing that we've been doing. We've been doing, instead of plastic cups, now we're using cardboard cups. Yeah, that's a whole thing that people are doing nowadays. Why do you bother telling us about the issues of recycling when we have been talking about this for the past 5 years? 5 years we have been putting new, renewed efforts into plastics, especially since COVID and stuff. Because we had to have stuff that was like, just, I don't know, someone just woke the fuck up and said, let's actually put a little extra effort into it, and now we have cardboard straws. And I hate them. Some of them. Some people are able to make cardboard straws that are not shit, but they are weird. And some of them are just flat out, it's the same kind of material you would have for a cardboard toilet paper roll, but it's a straw shape. So it's like, okay, yeah, that's not actually holding up. That doesn't actually help me have the liquid is gonna seep out of it or something. It's not the best idea. Straws are there to hold liquids as well, and they're just gonna get soggy. They do. They always just get soggy, and I hate it. Give me a solution. So yeah, besides the fact that you have the organic stuff that eats plastic now, which is just a brand new thing it's not even that new, it's a few years old, and he didn't talk about that, sucks. Come on, you gotta admit that sucks. What are these other plastics and what do they do? And the fact that he talks about a nebula but doesn't talk about it here just feels like it's a paywall to get the information and education that we deserve to have, but you're making this video. What is this video's purpose? I would say 90% of the video was fluff. So what am I doing? I'm responding. All of my video is entirely talking about, and the majority of it is just the reaction piece of his reaction to the other thing, which was not the best idea. But I'm keeping you in check is what I'm doing. Yeah, like the industrial strength plastics that we use in freaking robots that are supposed to be able to go into um, places with radiation and places with fires and whatever else. You don't want that to be able to just burn easily. You want the kind of materials that it will definitely probably survive in these hazardous situations, like Spot, the robot, and all of these other things. You don't want them to just be, I'm closing the video. Right, and then this a whole thing. He doesn't talk about, we have 3D printers now. So much of that plastic. What is the grading of that plastic? How can we use it? Are we okay with this? Now we have ceramic and organic and other and metallic. We have all sorts of 3D printing, but like freaking BattleBots, they're using metals and plastics that they understand it is got issues, and if it goes on fire, it's not good. So that's why they have an entire fume system for that. Well, I am still going to promote BattleBots. I'm sorry, it's a whole huge thing. Literally, fire is part of the thing some of the time. And sometimes they just have metallic robots that are meant to handle fire. Or sometimes they have this plastic stuff that it's meant to melt, and it's meant to protect the robot because it keeps the heat outside instead of getting to any of the important components. You know? Heat resistant materials and stuff like that. What is all the things? And it's like, I could probably find another video on YouTube that isn't against a paywall. What is Nebula but just another paywall to try to give you education? If you're getting education, shouldn't you have to pay for it? No. No. I repeat, no. Education should be free. That's why I'm here. I would literally just regurgitate all the stuff that I learned from Nebula for free so you don't have to pay any more cents. That would be a life mission, to just freaking spill the beans on all the stuff that is Nebula or that is whatever else, and then you get all the information from an idiot, but you do get it without having to pay for it. All the information, like anything. Like, there's so much on SciShow, there's so much on whatever else. And it's like, the specifics of what the hell you use plastics for is something we learn in school. We learn that on the goddamn wall in our recycling room. I don't have to go to Nebula to find that out. We can learn that by looking it up online. I don't have to go and to a paywall to find that out. I find that disturbing, actually. Slightly disturbing. That it's like, oh, well, kids aren't gonna learn this. They don't have fucking money. And they can't be inspired by all the stuff that they could possibly learn. You understand where I'm coming from? That's disturbing. Listen, you want to talk to me about he talked about this one guy who represents a freaking Indian. Do you realize I don't think that regular Indians or Native Americans, whatever, don't. Dude, I'm being respectful. I just don't. I am. Don't. The whole thing is, back then, in order to have representation, you have to have someone willing to be the you. That's why blackface existed. It was like, hey, you don't want black people working here? I can be in blackface. And then you're basically getting a black person. So we're going to make black people be here on the show whether you like it or not. Representation. Because the freaks who don't want people to be able to be in the thing, they were back there and they were saying no. So we say, hey, we have a workaround. This guy looks like the Cherokee that we want to represent. Let's put him in there, but he's actually like this other guy that they will accept. But then the subject matter is of the Cherokee or whatever. Who cares? We're still going according to the rules, blah, blah, blah. And there's stupid bigotry, and we're just going around that, and we're just saying, hey, we're going to have the stuff be what it is, what it's supposed to be, and in some capacity. We did our best. Okay? You want to say, oh, there's a problem with that, and you clapped at my face? Yeah, I have a problem with you. Because I don't care if the guy is faking being a Navajo or whatever. These things come out of my ass. I don't fucking know what they are. Right? Any of these things. Right? First Nations and all that jazz. I don't care if they're an actual First Nations or whatever else. They got back then, get the representation however the fuck way you want. Nowadays, you can probably just have those people, any type of people that you want. You can have the dark. We have freaking the magical Negroes. To be like, we have this magical. Have you heard of that Magical Negroes movie? In the fact that they're going to go directly against racism, and they're just going to shove all the bigotry and bullshit bad ideas in people's faces to make it very clear you should know better. Just freaking grow up and know better. That's what the movie is trying to say. The bigotry is not founded. We're literally just other people trying to exist. And we're willing to be a suck up so that you don't have an issue with us. In the movie. In reality, black people are celebrated everywhere. They freaking, like, we love freaking, all sorts of people. Trying to think of one that doesn't have an issue right now, like Will Smith. Bill Cosby. Biden. Obama. Biden. Biden. Obama was pretty cool. Like Shaquille O'Neal, freaking Blade, the dude who played Blade, he's awesome. I don't know any of these controversies. Shut the fuck up. You know, Chris Tucker, freaking cool dude, right? You got goddamn Whoopi Goldberg, the best example of an awesome black representation in the entire universe. Whoopi Goldberg got herself into freaking Star Trek, and people were like, "Yeah, this is great. This is cool. We can just." She's just another person, and she's down to earth, and she's cool, and like. Freaking great. We love all these people. What? So like if you're gonna talk about like old times with the freaking cigarettes and whatever else, politics and stuff and bureaucracy and advertising and how people treated who has changed dramatically. Now we have Hindu stuff all over the place with freaking all sorts of places. Now it's in the we had that type of stuff with, what is it? There is no game representation, right? We have what was that thing about Element? Was it Elemental? Where this fire lady and the water dude got together and they made Starlight, which is beautiful. Had a bunch of other things. The movie Upgrade, or what's the one? Tiki Tiki Taka, Tiki Taka. That one. Like, you got all sorts of stuff, and it's just, you can bring the beauty from all different cultures everywhere and celebrate it nowadays. And that freaking culture stuff is beautiful. It's great. Love how they were able to do all that stuff nowadays. Instead of before, back then, and whatever else, you have to get around all that stuff. You have to have someone, like, at least the most you could get is someone pretending to do it. And that was, first of all, you can get yourself freaking shot back then because, oh, you're and people have all these heated opinions and stuff about all the crap that if you're being this, to be that, whatever else in the industry of making movies and TV shows and stuff, like, there's lots in there, and it's all not the best. Dude, Topper Returns, the butler or the driver, Mr. Topper, he was fucking funny. He was amazing. I loved him. All that shit. Man, the fact that Michael Jackson had changed his color, I don't even care. I think he would have been better off if he never changed to white. Like, he could have just been fine eventually if he just stayed as he was. Like, he didn't need to do the whole weird bleach thing or whatever the hell he did to his skin to make himself not what he originally was, which is then like, wait, is that better or worse? Like, is it like you going along with what? It's like how guys think that they need to turn into a woman in order to feel like they're actually pretty. There are pretty guys out there. Um, I don't know. Bruce Willis is kind of good. George, um, Clooney. I think he's okay. I forget who's okay nowadays. Um, all sorts of ones out there. And I'm way off topic, but that whole thing sparked. There are two videos here. There's the first video where talking about his video and all the stuff that is to do with recycling and whatever else, which is the main core of the thing. But the reaction of the culture was, and this guy was talking, and he did a crying little tear, talking about recycling. Oh God, people are throwing away trash and whatever else, and it's so sad to see people leaving trash on the road. My country, my wilderness is being dunked on by your coffee cup, and it just makes me hurt. These wasteful jerks. These wasteful technology people. The fact that the guy got bothered that it wasn't an actual what Native American or whatever it is disturbs me to the point where I have to make this section of the video. Literally the other half of the video. Plus metal straws. And like friggin' have you heard of the fact that Bob the Tomato used to be shiny and now he's smooth like putty? I made a video talking about that.